So, my mini lathe came with an 80mm chuck. But here's the catch. It can only take a 16mm bar through the ball. 16! That's tiny. And honestly, it meant I couldn't make any practical parts at all. But instead of giving up, I decided to upgrade. Today, I'll show you how I fitted a 100mm chuck on the lathe that was never designed to have one, and whether it was actually worth it. At first glance, the stock 80mm chuck looks fine, but here's the reality. With the outside jaws, you can only hold up to 80mm. With the inside jaws, just 30. And at those limits, only one thread of the scroll plate is engaged. That's not strong. That's not safe. Tighten it hard enough and you risk snapping a thread clean off. Add to that, the ball is only 16mm. So, you're stuck making really small parts. Anything practical just won't fit. I wanted better. At least a 20mm ball and the ability to grip useful parts without blocking the cross slide. My mini lathe has a 105mm swing over the cross slide. That meant 100mm was the largest chuck I could fit, while still clearing the slide. Yes, technically I could mount something huge like a 125mm or even 160mm, but then I'd lose the ability to actually machine longer parts because this cross slide wouldn't fit underneath. So, a 100mm chuck was the sweet spot, but my spindle only accepts a 80mm chuck, which meant one thing. I needed to make a custom backplate. I turned the backplate from mild steel. Cast iron would have been ideal. It's more rigid and damps vibration. But at the time, I didn't have a source for it. The critical part here is the registration shoulder. That's what ensures repeatability and accuracy when you mount or remove the chuck. If that fit isn't perfect, you'll lose concentricity every time you swap. Okay, not as loose as this chuck. It's supposed to have a tight fit. Now, I don't have a chuck on this lathe to make the full plate, so I cheated a little. I cut the back shoulder at my nephew's workshop on his larger Myford Super 7. Then I went back and forth, cut a little, test on my lathe, back on my Myford, repeat, until it finally clicked into place perfectly. Once the fit was right, I moved on to drilling and tapping the bolt holes. I set the backplate up on the rotary table of my mini mill, drilled the 4 holes and tapped them out. Back on the lathe, I mounted the backplate, bolted it down and faced it off. I turned the outside diameter. To make sure it always mounts in the same orientation, I added a small punch mark on both the spindle and the backplate. Just a quick reference so it lines up every time. Finally, I cut the 72mm registration shoulder for the new chuck. The chuck fits on tightly, just as it should. A snug fit, no play. That's when you know it's right. How accurate was it? On the backplate alone, I measured just 0.005 millimeter of runout. That's about 2/10 of a thou. Pretty good for a mini lathe. With the chuck mounted and a precision shaft in place, it measured around 0.02 millimeter or 3/4 of a thou. Not perfect, but this is a self-centering chuck, so you'll never get absolute perfection anyway. Finally, the test. With the reversing jaws, the new chuck does hold a 100 millimeter workpiece. With the inside jaws, I can now safely grip a 40 millimeter bar hanging well out of the chuck and still turn it without issue. But the real win, I can finally pass a 20 millimeter bar through the bore. That's a 25% increase in capacity. On a small lathe, that's huge. So, was it worth it? For me, absolutely. The lathe feels bigger, more capable, and I can tackle jobs I couldn't even attempt before. Yes, the chuck hangs out about 20 millimeter further than the original. I'll keep an eye on the spindle bearings. But for now, I've given my little mini lathe some much needed muscle. Check out the next idea by clicking the link on screen. See you in the next project.